Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another edition of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Charles Benedict for the Newsfirst team. Let's start off with a look at your top stories for tonight.
Valuable Finance was awarded the Best Finance Company for the third consecutive year.
President expresses optimism for the country's economic growth. Measures would be taken to increase government employees' salaries next year. Postpone all moves to sell off state-owned assets or enterprises until a new government is formed. Ex-President Rajapaksha tells Vikramasinghe. Sirasa faction elects new SLFP chair.
මම පක්ෂයේ අනාගතය සඳහා සහ ජනතාව සහ රට වෙනුවෙන් තීරණය කළා ඉක්මනින්ම සභාපතිවරයෙක් පත් කරගත යුතුයි කියලා. ඒ අනුව තමයි විජය රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයා පත් කරේ අපි.
Nimal Siripala faction rejects appointment.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ තනතුරු වල වෙනසක් අද දිනේදී නීත්‍යානුකූල මට්ටමින් කිසිදු අයුරකින් සිද්ධ වුණේ නැහැ.
Who is the SLPP presidential candidate? Chandrasena leaves a hint.
මේ වෙනකොට අපේක්ෂකයා කවුද කියලා අපි දන්නවා. අපිට හැබැයි අපේක්ෂකයා ගැන කියන්න තහනම් කරලා තියෙන අපේ පක්ෂ නායකයා මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ ජනාධිපතිතුමා.
Opposition leader asserts that SJB members will not bow down for money or perks. Suspect arrested for leaking O-level paper. Special invigilators to monitor examination process.
Valuable Finance was awarded the Best Finance Company for the third consecutive year.
සාමාන්‍ය තනතුරක් නැතුණම දුකයිනේ රවුතුමා hina වෙනවා අපි දකිනවා. මොකද්ද මේකේ රහස?
නෑ මට දුක් වෙන්න කිසිම කාරණයක් නෑ. මට ලොකු සතුටක් තියෙන්නේ අද.
Former President Maithripala Sirisena made this statement after he resigned from his position as chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Now, the announcement of the resignation of the former President Maithripala Sirisena from the chairmanship of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and the appointment of Minister Justice Vijayadasa Rajapaksha to that post was made today against a backdrop where the Sri Lanka Freedom Party is facing internal strife.
What is this crisis within the Sri Lanka Freedom Party? Dayasiri Jayasekara was removed from his post of General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party in March 2023 and Sarat Ekanayaka was appointed as the acting General Secretary of the party. 6 months after that, in September 2023, former President Maithripala Sirisena appointed Dushmantha Mitrapala to the position of General Secretary of the SLFP. 6 months after this appointment, on the 30th of March 2024, Mahindra Amaravira, Lasantha Alagiyawanna and Duminda Disanayaka were stripped of the position that they held in the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Right now, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party is split in two. One faction supports Maithripala Sirisena. The other faction supports Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva and also has the blessing from former President Chandrika Bandanayake Kumaratunga. Both of these factions of the SLFP went to court against each other. The group of the SLFP who hold ministerial positions in the government had obtained 2 court orders against Maithripala Sirisena. One was an enjoining order suspending the decision of Maithripala Sirisena to strip Mahindra Amaravira, Lasantha Alagiyawanna and Duminda Disanayaka from all the positions that they held in the SLFP. The district court had also considering a petition filed by former President Chandrika Bandanayake Kumaratunga enjoined the former President Maithripala Sirisena from acting in the capacity of the chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Meanwhile, the group against Maithripala Sirisena had appointed Nimal Siripala de Silva as the acting chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party on the 8th of April 2024. Against such a backdrop, on the 21st of April 2024, the Maithripala Sirisena faction had appointed Vijayadasa Rajapaksha as the acting chairman of the SLFP. On the 24th of April 2024, the group opposing Maithripala Sirisena had got 2 more orders from court enjoining Vijayadasa Rajapaksha from functioning as the acting chairman of the SLFP and enjoining Maithripala Sirisena from acting as chairman of the SLFP. On the 25th of April, Duminda Disanayaka was appointed as the acting general secretary of the SLFP. Although Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksha appealed against the order enjoining him from acting in the capacity of chairman of the SLFP, on the 29th of April 2024, the Court of Appeal rejected his appeal. On the 6th of May 2024, former President Chandrika Bandanayak Kumartunga arrived at the SLFP party headquarters for the first time in 5 years. On the 10th of May 2024, former President Maithripala Sirisena filed an appeal seeking the annulment of the enjoining order issued by the District Court on the 24th of April 2024. The faction of the SLFP that supports Maithripala Sirisena today convened in Kotte amid such a backdrop. The meeting was attended by former President Maithripala Sirisena and Minister of Justice Vijayadasa Rajapaksha, and it was unanimously decided at the meeting to appoint Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksha as the chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. This is after Maithripala Sirisena had resigned from the position of chairman of the party.
සභාවෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා අපේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයට නව සභාපතිවරයෙක් පත් කර ගැනීම සඳහා තමුන්නාන්සලා අතරින් යෝජනාවක් ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න කියලා.
අපේ පක්ෂයේ සභාපතිතුමා හැටියට විජේදාස රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයා සුසුයි කියලා මම යෝජනා.
ඒ යෝජනාව ස්ථිර කරනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයටත් ඔබටත් දිනේවා වැජමේවා සරලේවා.
සියලුම ඉඩ පැසවීමෙන් පෙනියන්නේ ඒකමතිකවය සම්මත වූ බවයි.
අද දිනේදී ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ විධායක සභාව විදියට රැස් වෙලා විධායක සභාව ඒකමතිකව තීරණයක් ගත්තා ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ සභාපතිවරයා වශයෙන් මාව පත් කරන්න කියලා.
කැඳවීම නීති විරෝධී කියලා.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ පාර්ශව නැහැ. එක පාර්ශවයයි ඒ පාර්ශවයේ සියලු දෙනාද මෙතෙන්ට ආවා.
ඔබතුමාලා පත් වෙන්න ඕන සම්මේලනයක් තියලා නෙමෙයිද සභාපතිවරයා පත් කරන්නේ?
නෑ විධායක සභාව.
අපේ ව්‍යවස්ථාවට අනුකූලවයි අද තිව්වේ. පක්ෂයේ දෙපාර්ශවයක් නැහැ. 10 දෙනෙකුට වැඩි අඩු ප්‍රමාණයක් වෙනත් මතයක් දරනවා. අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා ඉදිරියේදී ඒගොල්ලෝ අපිත් එක්ක එකතු වෙලා රට ගැන හිතලා පක්ෂය ගැන හිතලා එක ගමනක් යන්න පුළුවන්.
නිදහස් පක්ෂ නිමාල් සිරිපාල සිරිලාගේ මැතිතුමාගේ පාර්ශවයෙන් ආරාධනා කරනවා එතුමන්ලත් ඔබතුමන්ලට කළා.
ඒක ඉතින් එතුමාගෙම ගිහිල්ලා ප්‍රශ්න විසඳ ගන්න මොකද මේ කඩපිල්වල තියෙන රැස්වීම පිළිබඳව අපිට උත්තර දෙන්න බෑ.
දැන් ඔබතුමාට වාරණයක් තියෙද්දි ඔබතුමා කොහොමද සභාපති වෙන්නේ? දැන් එහෙම දාලා තිබ්බනේ.
වාරණේ තියෙන්නේ වැඩබලන සභාපති තනතුර දරන්න එපයි කියලා. ඒක නිසාද ස්ථිර සභාපති තනතුර ලැබුණා.
එතකොට ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන්නේ නැද්ද?
අපිට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැත්නම් ඕගොල්ලන්ට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න මොකද්ද?
මම මේ කොමඩක් දැන් කාලයක් තිස්සේ මේ පක්ෂයේ සභාපති ධුරය කෙනෙකුට බාර දීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් මම අවධානය යොමු කරමින් සිටියේ. ඉතින් ඒ අතරේ තමයි මේ අපිට අතුරුදහනක් නියෝගයක් ආවේ මට. මම පක්ෂයේ අනාගතය සඳහා සහ ජනතාව සහ රට වෙනුවෙන් තීරණය කළා ඉක්මනින්ම සභාපතිවරයෙක් පත් කරගත යුතුයි කියලා. ඒ අනුව තමයි විජේදාස රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයා පත් කරේ අපි.
දැන් ඔබතුමාගේ සභාපතිකම ඉවත් අයින් කරගෙනත් ඔබතුමා කොච්චර ඔහොම සතුටින් ඉන්න කොහොමද? දැන් අනතුරු ඒක තමයි වෙන්නේ. වෙලාවලා ඉන්න පුළුවන්.
ඒක තමයි පරිණත බව.
ඒක තමයි මේ ඔබතුමාලා ඉගෙන ගන්න එහෙම සතුටින් ඉන්න.
ඒ කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය තනතුරක් නැතුණම දුකයිනේ. දැන් ඔබතුමා hina වෙනවා අපි දකිනවා. මොකද්ද මේකේ රහස?
නෑ මට දුක් වෙන්න කිසිම කාරණයක් නෑ. මට ලොකු සතුටක් තියෙන්නේ අද. හොඳයි. කොහොම ඉස්සුදයි.
තාවස් නැත්නම් පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න සමාජිකත්වය ඔබතුමාගේ තාම තියෙනවද?
ඒක අපි බලමු.
සර් ඔබතුමා
Meanwhile, at the same meeting of the Maithripala Sirisena faction of the SLFP today, Attorney Kirti Udawatha was appointed as the acting general secretary of the SLFP.
නෑ මාව පත් කරලා තියෙන්නේ වැඩ බලන ලේකම්වරයා හැටියට. ඇත්තටම බලන්නේ මම කැමැත්තෙන් පත් උනේ. අපේ ලේකම්තුමාගේ වාරණී ඉවත් වෙච්ච වහම එතුමට මේ අවස්ථාව අපි නැවත පිරිනමන්නයි.
Which election will be held first? Will it be the presidential election or the general election? Who are the candidates that the parties intend to put forward for the presidential election? Now, discussions surrounding these matters have begun to heat up again, especially after the recent announcement made by the National Election Commission. Let's take a look at what was said on the political stage.
SLPP parliamentarian SM Chandrasena says that the SLPP has decided who their presidential candidate will be. He said that he cannot make any statement about the candidate as former President Mahindra Rajapaksha has barred him from doing so.
අපිත් මේ වෙනකොට
The date of the presidential election has been announced, but some are expecting a general election. We are now aware who our presidential candidate is. The party will name the candidate at the right time. We are not allowed to talk about the candidate, as our party leader Mahindra Rajapaksha has told us not to do so. As the leader of the party, Mahindra Rajapaksha will announce the SLPP's candidate at the right time.
ජනාධිපති අපේක්ෂකයාගේ නම එළි කරයි.
තාපකට ලක් කරනවා දැන් තව සති දෙකක් තුල හෝ සතියක් තුල පාර්ලිමේන්තුව විසුරුවා කරනවා කියන
The Election Commission has confirmed the dates for the presidential election, but holding the general election will also not be a problem. I am still of the same opinion that if we hold a general election before and then go for the presidential election next, we can win the presidential election very easily. It is true that there is a rumor like that, but we don't know if it is 100% true. But we are ready for both elections.
Security at the head office of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, located at Dali Road, was beefed up today. Police water cannons were also deployed to the vicinity. It is reported that a meeting of the organisers of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party was held at the party head office today. Convening a media briefing today, the faction supporting Nimal Siripala de Silva, who is functioning in the capacity of acting chairman of the party, said that they do not accept these appointments.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ වැඩබලන සභාපතිවරයා විදිහට කටයුතු කරන්නේ
Nimal Siripala de Silva is functioning as the acting chairman of the SLFP. Therefore, we do not accept these statements in any way. We have informed them in writing that the meeting that was held today is illegal.
ලිඛිතවත් දැනුම් දීම් කරලා තිබෙන්නේ
වාරණයට ලක් වෙච්ච පිරිසක් විසින් තමයි.
It was a group against whom enjoining orders were issued who have convened a meeting today, and we received reports that the same group had made several appointments. I would like to inform all members of the SLFP that no such appointments to the SLFP were legally made today. I believe that this is a joke. It was a separate group that wanted to kill Bandaranayake and destroy the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. But today the former chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Maithripala Sirisena, is trying to completely destroy the SLFP. He has done that today, officially or unofficially. He has named a person who is a member of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna and not a member of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party as the chairman of the SLFP. Maithripala Sirisena has done to the Sri Lanka Freedom Party something even worse than the murder of Bandaranayake. According to our constitution, a person who is not a member of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party cannot be given any post in the party. Even today, Premadasa Rajapaksha is a member and parliamentarian of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. He has not at any point clarified and said, "This is my SLFP membership number." A member of the SLPP does not have any right to assume any position in the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, and the SLFP does not have the authority to make such an appointment.
Former Sri Lankan ambassador to Russia, Udayanga Veeratunga, reiterated that the general election will be held before the presidential election.
Anura Kumara hitang innawa janadhipatiwarane kiyala.
Anura Kumara and Sajit think it's going to be a presidential election. I say once again that Basil Rajapaksha will hold a parliamentary election before the presidential election. I am 500% sure that Ranil Wickremesinghe will not contest for the next election, and I am willing to place any bets and say that Anura Kumara won't be the next president of this country. We have many candidates. We have Dhammika Pereira, who is a popular businessman. We have Namal Rajapaksha, and many more will come out at the right time. There is no need to name a candidate now, as the presidential election won't be held first.
Leader of the United Republic Front, Patali Champika Ranawaka, says that the leaders of the Pohotua know they will not win the presidential election, and because of that they are attempting to hold a general election first to secure their seats in parliament.
Sri Lanka Podujana Peramunata
විශේෂ රාජපක්ෂ පවුලට තේරිලා තියෙනවා ඊළඟ ජනාධිපතිවරණය.
The SLPP and mainly the Rajapaksha family has understood that they cannot field any candidate for the upcoming presidential election, and even if they field a candidate, they cannot win the election. They know that if any other party wins, the SLPP will not be able to get more than 4 or 5 parliamentary seats. Therefore, they are trying to dissolve the parliament. They are trying to influence the president to dissolve the parliament, but the president has no right to dissolve the parliament. This is because he came into power promising to bring the country's economy back to a stable position. What the president should do is to accomplish this task of restructuring the country's debt before the presidential election is announced. Instead of doing that, there is no point in him dissolving parliament just for the sake of getting 4 to 5 Rajapaksas parliamentary seats.
ඒක කරන්නේ නැතුව මේ රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තුරු 4-5 දෙනෙක් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ යන්න පාර්ලිමේන්තුව විසිරුවා හැරලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ.
Partili Champika Ranawaka expressed these views after attending in the dedication of his book titled Deshiya Venuwen Ekvena Piyavarak to the Mahasangha at the Kalaniya Manilwatta International Buddhist Centre. Nalin Hevage from the National People's Power points out that political parties are afraid of a presidential election.
The entire country is waiting for the presidential election, but these political parties are afraid of contesting for this year's presidential election. The biggest crisis that the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna has faced is that they have no support in the villages. The Podujana Peramuna has no body, and if you really look at it, they have no head either. What happened to Ranil's faction is that although they have some sort of a head, there is no body. Sajit Premadasa's faction has a small body, but they don't have a head to suit that. They have a very weak head. The Compass is the only political party with a head and a large body.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Sajit Premadasa says that although members from other parties sell their allegiance for money, no members from his party are on sale for perks and privileges.
Don't become a slave to the political gamble in our country. People became slaves once and it ended with the entire country going bankrupt. Do not become part of this political gamble. Leaders should ideally develop schools, develop irrigation facilities, protect and develop hospitals. That is what they should do, isn't it? But they are not doing that. They are giving bar permits to parliamentarians. They are trying to buy parliamentarians for money. Why? Because the election is near. I would like to respectfully state that no member of my team will sell themselves for money or any perks or privileges. Our team will reject all of that for the country and for the 22 million people in the country so that we can defeat these corrupt politicians. Therefore, there is not a single person in our team that can be bought for money.
The opposition leader made this statement during the 183rd phase of the Sakula Smart Classroom program, where a smart classroom worth 1 million rupees was donated to the Monaragala Madulla Galgamuva Secondary School today. Another 100,000 rupees was donated to the school's development committee for the welfare of the school's dancing group.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that he expects the rate of economic development to hit 3% by the year 2025 and that salaries of state sector employees will be increased accordingly. The president made this statement while addressing the celebration of International Nurses Day at Temple Trees today.
The theme for the International Nurses Day celebration this year, Our Nurses, Our Future, the economic power of nursing, underscores the pivotal role nurses play in shaping our collective future. The President inaugurated the Sri Lanka Nursing University and unveiled a commemorative plaque. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena launched the official website of the State Service Nurses Association.
අපේ බලාපොරොත්තු එන අවුරුද්දේ වර්ධන වේගයක් ඇති වෙයි කියලා 103කට අවම වශයෙන්. එහෙනම් 103ක වර්ධන වේගයක් ඇති වෙන අවස්ථාවේදී අඩි වැඩි කිරීම ගැනත් අපේ අවධානය යොමු වෙලා තියෙන රජයේ සේවකයන්.
We expect a 3% economic growth by next year. At a time when there is growth of 3%, we will also focus on increasing salaries for state sector employees. Since you have an understanding about these matters, I am thankful to your association. Now all that we have to do is move forward along with an export-driven economy. To facilitate this transition, we have formulated a set of laws. While some have been enacted, others are still pending. Foremost among these measures is the enactment of the Central Bank Law, which prohibits money printing and borrowing from state banks while granting autonomy to the central bank. Additionally, 3 other laws have been drafted. The Public Debt Management Act has been proposed thus far. Additionally, we are proposing the enactment of the Economic Transformation Law, aiming to transition our economy towards a new economy centered on exports. This legislation incorporates the terms agreed upon with the IMF and other countries into law. We will be presenting this law to Parliament and are doing so since we have discussed this with the IMF. I urge all parties to support the adoption of this law as the future prosperity of our country hinges upon it.
නීතිය ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට. ඒ නීතිය ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නේ අපි IMF සංවිධානය එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කරලා තියෙන්නේ. මම හැම පක්ෂයෙන්ම ඉල්ලනවා මේ නීතියට සහයෝගය දෙන්න. ඉදිරියට යන්න. මොකද මේ නීතිය උඩ තමයි අපේ අනාගතය රඳා පවතින්නේ.
මම මේ ප්‍රමෝද ඉල්ලන්නේ යුතුයකම් ඉටු කරලා පඩි වැඩි කරගමු. ඒ නිසා
All I'm saying is, let's fulfill our responsibilities and get the salaries increased. All of us should be happy that we have got a university. This is one of the greatest victories in the history of the nursing profession. Not only that, your 3-year certificate was just a piece of paper. You didn't really get a certificate. The first certificate you got was the diploma certificate. I'm not just saying this because he is here, but this is what you call responsibility and being grateful. Since 2009, we fought to give us a Deputy Director General for nurses. We did not get it, but even for that, the final order came from Ranil Wickremesinghe. We got that as well by last night. Be careful of those who fill your mind with poison. They don't want to win over your rights. They only want to get you out on the streets.
Leader of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, former President Mahindra Rajapaksha, says that all plans for the sale of state assets or enterprises should be suspended until a new government is established. Issuing a statement, former President Mahindra Rajapaksha said that the winner of the presidential election should be allowed to take action with regard to state assets and state enterprises according to the mandate given to him by the people.
Former President Mahindra Rajapaksha points out that the steps taken by the government for the sale of state assets and enterprises is causing a stir among trade unions, political parties and the general public as a whole. In the statement, Mahindra Rajapaksha points out that it appears that the government is taking these steps to reduce the loss suffered by loss-making state enterprises and also pursuant to the agreement with the IMF. Former President Mahindra Rajapaksha points out that during his tenure of 9 years in office from 2005 to 2015, he had never sold a single state asset or state enterprise. In his communique, he stresses that the current government was established only to govern the country for the remainder of the term of former President Gotabaya Rajapaksha. The former president says that even pro-privatization lobby should realize that the hasty divestiture of state-owned assets at a time like this will not produce the best outcome for the country.
The Attorney General's Department says that the Ministry of Public Security has not sought any consultation from the Attorney General regarding future action that should be taken against Diana Gamage.
The Minister of Public Security said yesterday that advice has been sought from the Attorney General's Department regarding future action that should be taken against Diana Gamage in light of a travel ban being imposed on her. However, the Attorney General's Department confirmed that they had not received any request for advice regarding this matter as of last Friday. The Attorney General's Department said that if such an opinion is sought, the department is ready to provide the required advice. Madhuru Vithanage commented on the appointment of Mujibur Rahman for the seat left vacant by the disqualification of Diana Gamage.
මෙතනදී ගැටලුව මේ වගේ වෙලාවක තියන කොමිසමයක් කළ යුත්තේ කලබලයෙන් മന്ത്രിවරයා පත් කිරීම නෙමෙයි.
During a time like this, the Election Commission should not appoint a parliamentarian in a hurry. Now, in the absence of such provisions, this should be done after obtaining clear advice from the Attorney General. But the Election Commissioner's office suddenly appointed Mujibur Rahman as a member of Parliament as soon soon as the seat in parliament became vacant. In the future, if a national list member wants to resign from parliament and become a candidate in a local government election, and then while being a candidate for the local government election, you could also take oaths in parliament again. This is a wrong precedent.
ආයතනයක අපේක්ෂකයෙක් වෙලා ඊට පස්සේ ඒ අපේක්ෂකත්වයේ තියෙන ගමන් නැවත පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරයෙක් විදිහට දියුණු දෙන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් මේක මාර වැරදි පූර්වාදර්ශයක් නේ.
Dr. Reverend Omal Sobita, the chief Sanganayaka of Sri Lanka Ramanya sect Dakshina Lankava, issued a challenge to political parties.
We can't specifically say who at this instant, but we are in dire need of finding correct information. If you look at it, it is very clear that there are at least 10 people in each party. If there isn't, I welcome each party leader to come forward and say that there aren't any individuals like that in your party. Please tell us that your party does not have such double characters. Please come forward and tell the people as leaders of the party that there are no illegal aliens in your party. There are no people pretending to be citizens while having dual citizenship. Otherwise, all parties will be looked upon with suspicion.
Newsfirst with the people. Valuable Finance was awarded the best finance company for the third consecutive year.
Welcome back to the news. A suspect has been arrested in connection with the recent incident where the English question paper of the GCE ordinary level examination was leaked. Now the arrest was made in Katugastota, Kandy.
The Criminal Investigation Department arrested the administrator of the WhatsApp group who allegedly released the English question paper. He is an assistant class teacher. The investigation revealed that shortly after the English subject exam started on the 9th, the question paper was released to the WhatsApp group. Minister of Education Dr. Susil Premadasa responded regarding the leak of the English question paper as follows.
This should not have been done. They will be severely punished under the Examination Act. Sometimes they may never even get a chance to appear for the exam again. That will be decided at the end of the investigation. Now the Commissioner of Examination has taken steps to increase the supervision of each examination hall by deploying additional officials.
Meanwhile, in 2022, due to the crisis in the country, it had been previously informed through a circular that part of the lessons scheduled for the students will not be included in the exam questions, considering the time lost. However, this year's question paper had questions from areas that students were assured will not be included in the examination paper, according to the Ceylon Teachers Association.
Lesson 8 of grade 10 was removed and lesson 4 of grade 11 was removed. Some part of the subject of science was also removed. It was clearly removed and they said that those areas will not come for the examination. That is why teachers did not teach those areas to the children because they had been informed of that. But questions were included from those areas in the examination paper as well.
Meanwhile, the examination department says that attention has been paid to the relevant issue and all measures will be taken so that the candidates are not adversely affected in any way.
The ferry service between Jaffna and Nagapatnam in Tamil Nadu, which was supposed to resume from tomorrow, has been postponed to the 17th of May.
The Criminal Investigation Department arrested the administrator of the WhatsApp group who allegedly released the English question paper.
The shipping company has announced that the ferry service has been postponed due to the delay of the passenger ship which was supposed to reach Nagapattinam and some unavoidable legal clearances. It has been announced that the passengers who have booked can change the travel date or get a refund. The passenger ferry service from Nagapattinam to Kankasanturai began on the 14th October last year. Due to the northeast monsoon, this passenger ferry service was suspended on the 23rd of October last year. It was later announced that this ferry service will resume from tomorrow, but now it has been postponed until the 17th.
Up next is World Today.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for an immediate ceasefire as Israeli forces carpet-bombed Jabalia in northern Gaza, killing and wounding several Palestinians. The attacks come as Israel launched a new ground assault there months after announcing Hamas had been dismantled in the area. Officials from the European Union and the United Nations warn against a major ground assault on Rafah after the Israeli military expanded evacuation orders for the city, sheltering 1.4 million Palestinians. Tens of thousands of people took part in anti-government protests in Israel as pressure intensifies on the government of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to make a deal to bring captives in Gaza home. At least 34,971 people have been killed and 78,641 wounded in Israeli attacks on Gaza since the 7th of October last year. The revised death toll in Israel from Hamas's October 7th attack stands at 1,139, with dozens of people still being held captive. Russia said it had captured 5 villages in Ukraine's northeastern Kharkiv region during a surprise ground offensive that prompted mass evacuations as President Volodymyr Zelensky made an urgent call for military aid. Moscow's defense ministry said its troops had quote-unquote liberated 5 villages in Ukraine's Kharkiv region near the Russian border. Ukraine's defense ministry said on Friday that Russia had launched a surprise attack on the Kharkiv region, making small advances into a border zone from where it had been pushed back nearly 2 years ago. Ukraine's military command said that Russia's ground troops had air support. Zelensky said that Ukraine troops had been carrying out counterattacks in border villages in Kharkiv region. He said, quote-unquote, disrupting Russian offensive plans is now our number one task. At least 11 people have been killed and dozens more injured when a bus carrying high school students on a graduation trip crashed on the Indonesian island of Java. The bus was carrying more than 60 students and teachers from the town of Depok in Lembang, a popular tourist spot, when it crashed. The accident also killed 1 motorcyclist, seriously injured 13 people, and caused minor injuries to 40 others. Emergency workers continued search and rescue operations in flood-stricken southern Brazil, despite a new burst of torrential rains as the death toll continued to climb. The Civil Defense Agency said heavy rains in the state of Rio Grande do Sul last week caused rivers to overflow, leaving 136 people dead, 756 injured, and affecting nearly 2 million people. 125 people are still missing, while more than 410,000 have been forced to flee their homes due to the disaster, which United Nations experts and the Brazilian government linked to climate change and the El Nino weather phenomenon. According to the National Confederation of Municipalities, more than 92,000 homes were damaged or destroyed by the floods. Heavy rains resumed on Friday in the regional capital of Porto Alegre as well as other already badly hit areas, and authorities were instructing local residents not to return to the flooded areas.
Taking a look at some local news once again, people took to the streets in Thimirigasiaya once again, demanding justice, good governance and transparency.
The silent protest in Thimirigasiaya continued for the 279th day.
It's our 279th day here. We have been asking for system change and accountability. During this week, we saw the 2-year anniversary of the May 9th attack on GGG, Golface. To date, the perpetrators have not been caught. So many people were harmed, they were injured. We saw even priests and clergy being attacked. There are photographs by Pohot Tour supporters, identified Pohot Tour supporters, yet none of them have been arrested. No action has been taken.
I want to bring forth, the first thing is how this Diana Gamage, the former minister, Diana Gamage had to go because she has dual citizenship. Now, we know in the parliament that we do have several others who are also dual citizens. And the question arises is, how come the Speaker of the Parliament does not know who they are?
And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1 for tonight. Thank you very much for watching. Take care and God bless.